Hello, I'm the Media Wiz, because one art form wasn't enough, and we're back at it again with another vlog video. And today we're going to be talking about Peach Creek, the unofficial Ed, Edd and Eddy sequel series, as it's subtitled. And I figured it'd be appropriate to talk about this because a couple weeks have gone by since they uploaded the first episode. I finally figured I have enough to say about it for a proper video, so this is just going to be a quick off-the-cuff, quick thoughts on first impressions kind of video. I also figured it would be appropriate because I have not done a video on either web animations or Ed, Edd and Eddy in a very long time, so I figured it would be finally time to talk about this stuff. I mean, the last Media Wiz review of a web animation that I can recall was Cliffside, and that was back in January of this year, so yeah, it's a couple months ago. And last Ed, Edd and Eddy video, it was last year when I talked about the official DVD box set. So I figured the sequel fan series is on YouTube, and there's also been a huge gap in terms of like the last time I reviewed Ed, Edd and Eddy fan content, because I mean, the last crucial like sequel, or in this case prequel, show to Ed, Edd and Eddy that I've talked about for Media Wiz was The Bro Show, and that only lasted one episode. Kevin L., the guy who created it, he said that he wanted to do more episodes, but that was all part of one big update video, and that was related to not just The Bro Show, but other content he wanted to make. Like, there was a couple of other like web shows that he mentioned. And then I checked his channel to see if he had uploaded anything recently, and the last upload was a Steven Universe fan animation, and that was back in 2016. As far as I can tell, unless somebody can point me in the direction of it, he doesn't seem to have any new channels, so yeah, I think Kevin L's just kind of moved on. As far as I can tell. I checked to see if he had any new channels or new links. I couldn't find anything. So if anybody knows, feel free to let me know. But in terms of Ed, Edd and Eddy fan content, there's been a couple of uploads that have come out. There was that Ed, Edd and Eddy Steven Universe parody animation where they basically reanimated an episode of Steven Universe in this Ed, Edd and Eddy art style. There was Ed, Edd and Eddy in 2017, which was basically just a way to poke fun at, man, shows like Ed, Edd and Eddy couldn't exist nowadays because kids wouldn't be having fun during the summer. They would just be on their phones. Also a couple of other ones, like there was the Ed, Edd and Eddy live action fan movie, which, who knows, maybe I could review that at some point. Like, I actually wouldn't mind checking that out again. When I watched it a long time ago, I really enjoyed it. But as for Peach Creek, it was first announced back in 2020, 2021, somewhere around there. They started linking a lot of their social media, like their YouTube channel, as well as like Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, posting a lot of concept art and posting a lot of the intentions for what they wanted to do with the series. I first caught wind of it through some of the mini-sodes they had. Like, they had a couple of teasers and like announcement videos when their channel first started, but the mini-sodes were what caught my attention. There's one where it's just the Kanker sisters, who are just like the rest of the cast, clearly older in this show's continuity, and they're all yelling at each other about who ate the last piece of cake in the fridge. And, well, the first thing to tip you off that this ain't your daddy's Ed, Edd and Eddy is that there's swearing involved. And interestingly enough, Brock Baker, the internet man of a cajillion voices, is in this first episode as Eddy's brother. And it makes me happy because if you follow Brock Baker, not only is he really good at impressions, but if you listen to his, however many cartoon characters cover Africa by Toto video, he does all three of the Eds, and he does an incredibly spot-on impression of all of them. So him doing Eddy's brother, I was already like, yes. And then hearing him actually do it, I'm like, he sounds a lot like him. So as for the plots, like I mentioned earlier with the swearing, this is supposed to be a more adult, contemporary Ed, Edd and Eddy. And whenever you do something like that, it's always going to be a gamble, because sometimes it could be either really good or really bad. And an example of it being bad was the leaked script for that Powerpuff Girls show they were going to do for the CW. Thankfully, that is not happening. Maybe someday down the road, they'll pull a Wonder Woman 2011 and they'll release the pilot as like a bootleg online, and the internet will have a good laugh at it. So yeah, it's a gamble. Sometimes you can do it well. Other times, case in point, that CW Powerpuff Girls show, it can really suck a lot of the time. And this is a good example of how, for the most part, I think it actually worked. So the kids are older. This time they're specifically teenagers. Everyone looks like they're supposed to be older. Even like Jimmy and Sarah, they look like they're, it doesn't look like they're elementary kids anymore. They look like, I don't know, middle schoolers probably. But these guys look more like high school seniors. And interestingly, they have jobs now, or at least I'm assuming Double D does, but Eddy and Ed mentioned that they work some kind of fast food job. And apparently Johnny started working there. And here's how you know things are messed up in Peach Creek. Here's how you know that crap has gone down. Johnny doesn't have plank anymore. A Johnny without a plank is like a whole other level of what the hell happened to this place. At least if you're an Eds fan and if you kept up with the show. But, and also, there's a lot of good self-aware humor in this, but it's the right level of self-aware. Like, they don't do it too much. At least, in my opinion, I thought that they had a good handle of it. They actually say meta at one point. Like, what was it? Oh, Ed is recounting a story while they're hanging out at the junkyard, and he's getting a bunch of the details wrong, and Double D says, like, can somebody tell a story instead of just telling a lazy rehash? And Eddy says, stop getting meta with me, sockhead. So it's like, they're clearly trying to be like, And another good fourth wall joke is when they reference Johnny. Eddy's talking about how Johnny is now working at the same place they work at. And Ed is trying to remember his name, and he keeps messing up Johnny 2x4. And then Double D's like, did we ever call him that in the original show? And then Eddy's like, yeah, season 1, I think. And I'm like, yeah, that's right, the original Fat Freaky episode, when Eddy scrolls through his Who to Scam and When book. That's the, as far as I can tell, yeah, that was like one of the only times they ever called him Johnny 2x4 by name. There's also this one line that I'm happy they put in, because I did find it funny, but I also kind of felt like, I could see that being in the original show, maybe, just maybe. But Double D is condemning Eddy for smoking, and it's like, oh, teenagers, instead of trying to do something productive, they'd rather contaminate their lungs. And Eddy says something like, okay, settle down, Ronald Reagan. Like, that seems like the kind of thing that they would say in the original show. I mean, obviously not the reference to smoking and, like, the whole war on drugs, but, the whole, like, name drop thing, like, referencing, like, a famous person. Like, what was the episode? Smile for the Ed, when they had, Charlie the Bird Brain Parker. It was like them name-dropping people that the young kids that were watching the show probably wouldn't know, but the parents watching. That's the kind of thing that felt very in line with the original series. But everyone just seems more miserable and kind of bummed out and like a doomer, basically. Like, I mean, Eddy's smoking a cigarette and Double D just looking forlorn throughout the majority of this thing. Eddy wants to hang out with his friends, but Double D says that he has to get going, and Ed says he has to go help Sarah with her homework. And so Double D says, like, no, I just want some time alone, Eddy. Why don't you just go hang out with Ed? And so Eddy reluctantly agrees, but it's very clear that he wants to spend time with all three of them before he has to go to work. It just has this vibe of everyone's older now, it feels like they're just not the same. It feels like this not only sets the tone, but it also kind of sets in stone whether or not you're going to like this. Because I know some people, I saw like a few people say that they didn't really care for this because they don't like the idea of the characters growing older and becoming miserable, and because Ed, Edd, and Eddy was such a goofy, escapist cartoon. And I can definitely see where that argument's coming from. And when it's done poorly, I absolutely agree with that. Like, again, going back to Powerpuff Girls on CW, Powerpuff Girls is not meant to be taken that seriously. Like, I know Craig McCracken railed on the Powerpuff Girls movie for being too dark, but man, Powerpuff Girls movie at least knew how to have some fun. Like, compared to that terrible CW leaked script. But this, I felt like, okay, as an unofficial sequel series goes, it has a lot of the same crude humor that the Bro Show did, but the point of the Bro Show, in comparison to this, was the Bro Show was a lot more of a straightforward comedy, and it feels like it used its crude humor to set up the fact that basically everything bad that was going to happen to the Eds once they were born was mostly because of Eddy's brother's doing. But this, on the other hand, feels like kind of a step in a different direction. It's like the crude humor is there, but it feels like it's showing a lot of the things that suck about getting older, specifically, growing up and you're about to get out of high school. But here's where things get weird. Near the end of the episode, you have it that Ed is about to run away from home. He's about to hitch a bus and leave. And what happens after that is we then get this like Twin Peaks moment where May from the Cankers is in bed with Marie, and there's no Lee for some reason, and then she has this nightmare where she just imagines all this weird surrealist stuff, and she's talking to Jimmy, who she calls Dutch, which is a cute reference to Big Picture Show, and he goes on this whole like metaphysical rant about how like ways that they can keep their lives in order or maybe even get better. Like they need to stick together as a trio, and you need to pursue something or someone who will be there for you, which feels like it's advice for May to stop Ed from leaving. Yeah, it just gets really weird in the last few minutes of this thing. We get some flashbacks and callbacks to other things like Big Picture Show, as well as some other episodes. Like they reference the one where Ed's parents took the stairs away, and the one where the Cankers kidnapped Ed, and Double D and Eddy and the Urban Rangers had to save him. So it felt like a nice little montage of like, hey, remember the good old days, but in a really like David Lynch, like metaphysical, weird, surrealist kind of way. Again, some people may not like that just based on like, okay, that's a little too weird for them. I didn't mind it. I thought it was pretty creative. And another thing I really liked about this first episode, I liked the music. This kind of rustic music. I mean, they have a couple of music cues that sound like the old kind of big band jazz kind of flow that the original show's music had, but I like the kind of more somber country type of tones they were going for. I actually really liked it because it kind of symbolizes that whole like bluesy, down and out, times are changing kind of thing. I actually really liked that a lot. There's this one song, it's very early on, there's a montage of Double D's kind of average day at school. I really liked how that was done. But yeah, as far as the first episode goes, I thought it was good. I thought it was well animated. They clearly put a lot of time and effort into it. I like that the art style looks like it's trying to do its own thing, but then when they flash back to like, the old moments, like back from the old show, they actually start to replicate it very well. Like it actually does look a lot like the original series. They even got the little boiling line thing where the outlines squiggle. I love that. That's a nice little detail. But yeah, the voice actors did pretty good. The sound mixing was good. There was never really a moment where like the sound quality was inconsistent, which even pilots that I've reviewed before have had that. Like I said that about Long Gone Gulch and Cliffside and a couple of other ones. I never noticed that with this one. So yeah, I think that so far as the first episode goes, I think that what they're doing is pretty good. I'm definitely looking forward to more of Peach Creek. Maybe when they start making them in order of season, maybe I'll do a more in-depth review, but as of now, this is just kind of a quick thoughts and first impressions kind of video, just a way to get some quick thoughts out there. Peach Creek may not be for everyone, but it seems like most of the Ed, Edd, and Eddy fandom is enjoying it. It even got shared on AKA's official social media, so more than likely, Danny Antonucci's probably seen it, so that's pretty neat. As for what to expect next time, I'm going to be taking a quick break for next week, but once October starts, I have a whole new Media Wiz lineup. And what to expect for Media Wiz this year is the typical lineup of, gothic or horror-related media, so that's pretty much what to expect for October. I'm going to be skipping next week, but once October starts, Media Wiz is on, baby. That's pretty much it for this video. Until next time, guys, I'm the Media Wiz, because one art form wasn't enough.